Hello everyone, Mr. Lipchick here, and our topic for discussion for this segment of instruction will be the market structures that are monopolies and oligopolies. First, monopolies. A monopoly is defined as a market dominated by a single seller. Monopolies form when barriers prevent firms from entering a market that has a single supplier. Problems with monopolies include that they can take advantage of their market power with high prices. Many forms of monopoly are illegal according to U.S. law. Monopolies can form or be formed for different reasons. Economies of scale are defined as factors that cause a producer's average cost per unit to fall as output rises. In industries with economies of scale, unit production cost never reaches the stage where the average costs of production begin to increase. If you look to the right, you will see an example of that. The bottom graph shows that a firm with economies of scale, the product just gets cheaper and cheaper to produce. Instead, the production becomes more efficient, even at levels that can supply the entire market. Startup costs for monopolies are usually high. Each unit of a good is produced, as each unit of a good is produced, however, the startup costs begin to be covered by additional revenue, making each unit cheaper to produce than the previous one. Sometimes natural monopolies occur, or they are encouraged by the government. Natural monopoly is a market that runs most efficiently when one large firm supplies all of the output. In cases of a natural monopoly, the economy's resources would not be used to maximum benefit if there were multiple suppliers. And there's a good example to the right. In the early days of telephone service, there were hundreds of lines throughout the cities, and this was a major problem. Each company had its own line. So eventually Bell Telephone was formed, and we had one phone line and one company. And this was a natural monopoly because it was the most efficient system. However, as fiber optic cable began to replace copper phone lines, this has limited the need for this monopoly, and we have multiple suppliers on one line. There is such a thing as a government monopoly, and this is a monopoly created by the government. The government creates technological monopolies through the issuing of patents. To the right, you'll see an example of one. A patent is a license that gives the inventor of a new product the exclusive right to sell it for a certain period of time. A franchise is the right to sell a good or a service within an exclusive market. And a license is a government-issued right to operate a business. Like many businesses in competitive markets, monopolies must make output decisions. That is, how much should we make? Monopolies face a choice. They can choose high outputs or high prices to maximize profits, but not both. Usually, in comparison to competitive markets, monopolies produce fewer goods at higher prices. The monopolist's dilemma is defined as the following. The law of demand states that buyers will demand more of a good at lower prices. However, the more a monopolist produces, the less profits they will receive, because they're going to drive their own profits down. As in competitive markets, monopolists will set prices where marginal revenues equal marginal cost, maximizing profits. Unlike competitive markets, however, monopolists' prices are always set above marginal costs, and lowering the prices to increase output lowers profit. In some cases, monopolies can maximize profits through price discrimination. Price discrimination is defined as dividing customers into groups based on how much they will pay for a good. And this is, of course, based on their individual demand. In order to do this, a firm must have market power. On the right, you see an example admission price $13.50 with student ID 725. This is because whoever's running this event is aware that students usually don't have a lot of money and their willingness is going to be lower. So to maximize their profit, they are going to do price discrimination. Market power is defined as the ability of a company to change prices and output like a monopolist. Distinct customer groups exist, such as those over the age of 65 for senior citizens discounts. Again, another group that usually does not have very much income. In order to use price discrimination, the product must be difficult to resell, such as an airline ticket, admission to a movie, or something of that nature. There's also a form of competition called monopolistic competition. In monopolistic competition, a market structure is a market structure in which many companies sell products that are similar but not identical. 4 conditions for monopolistic competition are: there must be many firms in the market, there must be few artificial barriers to entry, the individual must have slight control over price, and the products must be differentiated. That is, they are different from other similar products. A good example would be Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, 2 coffee giants. Both designer coffees, but they have a slightly different taste, and they're going to appeal to different consumers. Monopolistic competition will often involve non-price competition. Non-price competition is defined as a way to attract customers through style, service, or location, but not at a lower price. Forms of non-price competition: physical characteristics, new sizes, shapes, and colors. Location, for convenience. And service level, more attentive service. Blue jeans are a good example, to the right, of non-price competition, different brands. And advertising, image, and status. The jeans at Kmart might be just as good as the jeans at Jordache. Jordache is gone. At Abercrombie, but they don't have the Abercrombie brand, so they're not going to go for as much. Prices will be higher for products with monopolistic competition than those in perfect competition, but they will be lower than in a monopoly. Substitute products exist, and barriers to entry for these businesses are low. In monopolistic competition, output will fall between perfect competition and monopoly. Prices are higher than in perfect competition, but lower than in a monopoly, and output and prices are negatively related. If a monopolistically competitive firm started to earn profits well above its costs, 2 market trends would eliminate those profits. 1, intense competition between rivals would encourage new ways for competitors to differentiate their products. And 2, new firms will enter the market with slightly different products that cost less than the name brand. Production of monopolistic firms is not as efficient as in perfect competition because there is too little output to use resources efficiently. What the consumer gains, however, is a variety of goods. Oligopolies. Oligopoly is described as a market structure in which a few large firms dominate the market. The market is an oligopoly if the four largest firms produce 70 to 80% of the output of that product. Oligopolies can be artificially created by the government or can form due to barriers to entry or economies of scale. Collusion and price fixing are problems with these markets. Collusion is agreement among firms to divide the market and set prices or limit productions. Railroads in the 1800s provide a good example. There were very high barriers to entry. It was expensive to build a railroad. And often there was price fixing and collusion, and they kept prices artificially high, which hurt primarily the farmers that wanted to use the railroads to move their products to the cities. This is before the automobile. So price fixing is an agreement among firms to charge one price for the same good. A cartel is a formal organization that producers that agree to coordinate prices and production. Cartels are illegal in the U.S., as the government would like to encourage competition to provide better quality and quantity of goods for consumers. Price wars periodically are a possibility within an oligopoly. And a price war is a series of competitive price cuts that lowers the market price below the cost of production. Oligopolistic markets will avoid this by following price signals and trends observed in other major companies making their products. So they will watch the market and look at what the prevailing price is before they make theirs too low. That concludes our discussion on monopolies and oligopolies. Thank you for viewing, and I look forward to seeing you in the live lesson. Have a great day.